Hello, hello, and welcome back to The Voice. Today we're going to talk about the glory of the Lord. Lord, just give me your glory. That's the title of what I'm going to talk about. And we also going to talk about the spirit of delusion. Those two things I want to talk about. But first we're going to get into the word. Let's go to 1 Kings 8. We're going to start at 9 through 11. And it says, nothing was in the ark except the 2 tablets of the stone, which Moses put there at Horeb. When the Lord made a covenant with the children of Israel, when they came out of the land of Egypt. Okay, verse 10. And it came to pass when the priests came out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of the Lord. Verse 11. So that the priests could not continue ministering because of the cloud. For the glory of the Lord filled the house of the Lord. Lord, give me your glory. I want to talk about this a minute because I want us to understand some things, because I want to, reiterate how the glory fill the house of the Lord. I'm a firm believer that if God's glory is not in the house or not abiding in the house, then God is not in the house. The glory of the Lord should be in the house. It should be so thick that miracles should be taking place. If miracles are not taking place in your church, God is not in the house. Because wherever Jesus went, there was miracles taking place. But I want to read something that thought that came to my mind, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. So I want to read this to you because I thought this was it was just a powerful thought that I thought. Abraham, through his obedience, name was changed from Abram to Abraham, a father of many nations. His name was a name that brought forth. He was a father of many nations. And because of his obedience, he was a friend of God. God called him his friend. And not only that, the glory of God was upon Abraham, because there is no way Abraham could be a father of nations except God's glory was abiding with him. Abraham was so powerful that he staggered not at the promises of God. When God told him something, he just heard it and obeyed it. When he told him to get thee far from thy kindred into a land where he would show him. Abraham didn't second guess it. He didn't. That's when the glory is abiding. He didn't second guess it. He just did it. Because the hand of God was upon him, the glory of God was upon him, and because he was Abraham, God's friend, because God could trust him when he spoke to him, he could trust him, because originally Abraham's family were heathen worshipers, but God called him out by his power, his spirit, and his glory to change Abraham's whole generation, his whole seed, because God had a different mandate for him. And so he told him to get thee away from his kindred, because he knew that would be a hindrance to his walk with him, into a land where he, showed him, where he promised him. So the point I'm trying to make is the glory of God was so prevalent in this man's life that he called him his friend. Now, in order for God to call you his friend, his hand got to be upon you. And when I say his hand got to be upon you, it's got to be upon you to the point where the glory of God shines in your life, shine upon you, to God start blessing you in abundance. And I'm not just talking about all natural blessings, but I'm talking about spiritual blessings as well as natural, because his hand is upon you, because the glory of God filled the room, or filled him up. I'll say filled him up to the place where he brought forth. And he brought forth so much so until his obedience was so powerful. That's bringing forth. It was so powerful that he had to call him a father of nations. This man had God's glory upon him. He had to, because there is no way he could call him a friend if God's glory was not upon Abraham and his descendants. And I want to say this too, just like Lucifer. In heaven, his name was Lucifer. But when he got kicked to earth, his name changed to Satan and the devil. Because on earth, he became Satan. He became the devil. He became destruction. He became death. But in the kingdom, he had life till he lost his mind. When he lost his mind, the glory departed from him. And as the glory departed, he became kicked out of the kingdom. And when he got kicked out of the kingdom, God's presence was totally away from him. So he became death, destruction, and everything he touched was destructive. And this is what I'm talking about. Lucifer. Lucifer had the glory of God upon him. God made him. He had the best of the best. He was instrumental. He had all the gifts of instruments inside of him. He was just beautiful. He was just, God just made him the best. He was the best in the kingdom. And then Lucifer lost his mind. And then the glory departed from him. What you don't want in this hour is for the glory to depart from you because of evil. Because of the spirit of delusion. The spirit of delusion will cause God to depart from you, his presence, his glory, his power, his strength. When you don't do the right thing, when you lose focus of God, when you lose focus of his power, when you lose focus of doing the will of God, the glory will depart from you. It will depart from you. And when the glory departs from you, you stand in a category of delusional. You start become delusional. You will think right is wrong and wrong is right. That's when you need some mental help. You need some help, somebody to help you through it, because then you lose in your mind and you think everybody is after you. Everybody trying to do you wrong. Everybody's mistreating you. Everybody don't understand you. No, you're in a spirit of delusion because you believe right is wrong and wrong is right. The glory have departed from you. When you get in a reprobate state, the glory have departed from you. When you operate, see, that's why sin is so destructive. That's why you don't need to operate in sin, because it's a self-sabotage type thing. Once you operate in it and you profess God and you just become this full-time hypocrite, and you become so arrogant that you can't see nothing but yourself, and you write about everything, and God is not God is in everything that you do, and you write about everything. Nobody can tell you nothing. You so high-minded that you looking very foolish. See, because God honors humility. He honors humble heart, a humble mind. And when you blown out of proportion, you so arrogant, can't nobody reach you, can't nobody tell you nothing, you have lost your mind. You're in the spirit of delusion. You think you're right when you're wrong. You're operating in wrong and thinking you're right. The glory have departed from you. It has left you. It has left your temple. It has left the place it dwelt. It has left you. You might have started out innocent, but I want to tell you something. Without God's spirit, without God's spirit, you don't have his power, and you really don't have his glory. But there are some people who profess to have God and don't have his spirit. So you can't have his glory if you ain't got his spirit, because his glory is in his spirit. And if you don't have his spirit, you don't have his glory. And then you start to be a delusional person. You start to say right is wrong, wrong is right, and you operate in it. And you continue to operate in the spirit of delusion. Then you start losing your mind. And everybody is trying to get you. Everybody trying to do you wrong. Everybody don't like you. Everybody mistreating you. Everybody doing you wrong. That's in your mind. That's when you start to operate in the spirit of delusion. And the spirit of delusion will take your mind, because it'll have you in a state of reprobate. And it will take your mind if you continue to operate in it. So I say to you, my brothers and sisters, stay in the divine will of God, so the glory will not depart from you. We're living in a day and time where the glory has departed from the temple, not just the household of faith, but from your temple. Because God said, I will not dwell in an unclean temple. And some people, the glory have departed and they don't even know the glory have departed. And they're still going on like God is still with them and he has left. So they're in a reprobate state and they can't see that they're in a reprobate state and they're becoming delusional. And the delusion is making them lose their mind. When the glory departs, God is nowhere to be found. God, just give me your glory. Don't take your glory from me. Because if the glory leaves, you are in a sad state and you are in a lost state because the glory has left you. When it leaves your temple, when it leaves around you, everything becomes dark. And you start to believe the lie, the delusion that you operating in. You start to believe you right about everything and everybody is wrong. You can't take no word from nobody. Because you done lost your cotton picking mind. You believing you right and you wrong as two left shoes. But you operating in this delusional spirit, which is making you lose your mind. Mental health is real. I'm trying to tell you it's real. And the only reason why people really lose their mind that's supposed to be Christians is because they keep their mind stayed off God instead of on God. Though they talking about God, they're just mentioning God, but they're not really operating in the spirit of God because they ain't got his spirit. Because if you got God's spirit, you got some self-control. If you got God's spirit, you got some humility. If you don't have no self-control, no discipline, no humility, you don't have his spirit. And God's spirit does not act unseemly. And when a person is just outright enraged all the time and acting unseemly, he can't possibly have God's spirit. He has a mental defect. Because the glory has departed because he have walked outside of God instead of staying in the presence of God. He walked out of his presence. Now he got something going on that's totally delusional and he thinking right is wrong and wrong is right. See, that's what happened to you when you become a full-time hypocrite. When you believe and you write about everything, saying you don't lie, you don't do. Everybody make mistakes. And what the person I'm talking about don't make no mistakes. Let him tell it. He don't make no mental illness in your family. If it's in your family, and I'm sure it's in everybody's family, you need to get that person some help because he's going to drive everybody in the house up the wall because that spirit in him has no rest. Either it's going to be cast out or you're going to go get you some psychological help because anytime you're restless and you're always agitated and you're in an uproar and you're finding wrong and fault in everything, that's because you're in a spirit of delusion. You done operate in hypocrisy so long, you done lost your cotton picking mind. God does not want you to lose your mind. But the only way you lose your mind is you step out of the will of God and do your own thing. And whatever happens to you happen. And then anytime you antagonize God's people and you say you have his spirit, you are a lying spirit. That spirit is a lie in you. And that spirit needs to be cast out of you because God's people don't stay in no rage. They get upset, they get mad, and they trip out every now and then, but they don't stay in no rage every single day. The glory has departed from an individual who stay in rage every single day professing Christ. He's in darkness. He's not in the light. Abraham was so obedient that God called him a father of nations. Abraham was so obedient, his name had to be changed. Abraham was so obedient, God called him his friend. He called him his friend because the glory was with Abraham and his family. And it never departed. It never departed from Abraham. It never departed. That's why he could continue to be a father's nation and his descendants on down the line, even to our generation. When the glory departs, you have no help. You have nothing that you can depend on, because if God take his hands off you, that's why you're going crazy, because he done took his hands off. You talking about God, but he ain't in you. You're talking about God, but you don't recognize his spirit because you walking in a spirit of delusion. Darkness will make you believe a lie rather than the truth. Darkness will make you believe something that ain't real. Darkness will make you believe that you ain't operating in the spirit of darkness. It'll make you think you operating in the spirit of light when you operating in the spirit of darkness. And Satan is your father. Satan is the only one that will have a person enraged every day, 24/7. He the only one that'll have a person enraged. He the only one that will have a person thinking the wrong thoughts 24/7. He's the only one that'll have a person antagonizing you all day long. So a spirit is in you. When you do that, when you operate in that type of spirit, a spirit is in you. God is not there. God is gone. The glory done departed. He gone. The glory that you had when you received the Holy Spirit, if you ever received it, because everybody don't receive it, they just talking about it, and everybody ain't got a spirit. Because see, you shall know the tree by the fruit that it bear. If it's bearing thorns, God ain't in that tree, because God's tree bring forth. Abraham brought forth. God's tree bring forth the fruits of the Spirit. A tree that's planted by God shall never be moved. A person that's enraged all the time ain't planted by God. They planted by darkness. And they don't even know they in darkness, because they've walked and operated in hypocrisy so long until they believe that they're still saved. You can't be saved. Light and darkness don't mix. You can't walk in darkness and say you're walking in light. Satan is deceiving you. It is total deception. He's deceiving you. So I would say, you, my brothers and sisters, stay in the divine will of God, because you do not want the glory to depart from you or depart from your life. That's God's presence. That's God's power. When he take his hands off you, his hands is gone. No, can't nobody restore it. Can't nobody bring it back. Only him himself. And if he don't do it, it ain't going to be done. And if he put you in a reprobate state, it's because you caused it. God don't allow that to happen except you have walked in total disorder and disrespecting his people, or his anointed, or even your parents. When you totally disrespect your parents, things gonna happen to you. You ain't gonna be flying high. You gonna be flying low. When you disrespecting your parents and calling your siblings all out their name and all that type of stuff, you're in the spirit of delusion. And you need some psychological help. I'm talking about in the family. Sometimes you have some family members that really need, I'm not talking about nobody, but somebody in the family needs some psychological help. And they can't see it. And it's going to take somebody who has that niche that can help them, because they ain't going to let you help them, because they don't think they're crazy. But they just as crazy as all get out. Now, I wanted to speak on this because the Lord was pushing me to say something about his glory departing, and he allowed me to see it in full manifestation. And that's not degrading nobody. It's just simply telling the truth. You lost your mind because you keep operating in darkness. You talking about God, but you don't really know him. You don't really know him. So I want to say to you, if the glory has departed, if you're a Christian and it has departed from somebody in your family, please get them some help or cast the spirit out. Do one of the two. Cast that demon out or get them some psychological help. Because if you don't, they're going to drive you and everybody around you up the wall. So you have the power to cast it out. And if you're not going to cast it out, then you go get help them to go get some psychological help. Mental illness is real. And the only reason why the glory departs and people become crazy is because they got their mind off God and got their mind on the situation or circumstance, or they start to have hatred in their heart. When you start to have hatred in your heart, you're standing on the dangerous ground anyway. You're standing on dangerous ground because you can't get yourself together because all the hate inside of you. You say it ain't hate, but it is, because that's what's manifesting. Ain't nothing manifesting but hate. Love ain't manifesting. Hate is manifesting. So I call it what it is. Hate. It can't be love, because love don't act like that. Love don't act unseemly. Love don't act crazy. Love don't push every button. Love don't provoke. Love don't constantly do that every day. It doesn't do that. It'll tell you the truth, but it ain't going to provoke you. It ain't going to keep pushing you. It ain't going to keep tormenting you. See, because that person is tormented, they trying to torment everybody around them. That spirit will make, and when you really walk in it, that spirit will make that person that's being tormented attack you. It's a spiritual thing. It'll make the person attack you because of the God in you. If you ain't getting attacked on a real high level, I don't know if you're walking with you. I don't know if God is walking with you, because if you really walking with God, you're going to get attacked on the highest of highest level. You don't get no little imps. You get the real mastermind demons. You get them ones that's sitting around with Satan. The ones that Satan sent out to try to tear you down because you breaking some ground. You breaking ground. And that demon is after you. That devil don't want you to go forward. He don't want you to be blessed. He don't want you to have the things that God said you was going to have. So he'll use whoever and have that devil cutting up every day. Every day. So either you're going to do one of two things. You're going to either have to rebuke that spirit, or you're going to have to get that spirit or get that person some psychological help. Because you shouldn't allow the enemy to torment your house. This your house. When it's your house, you run it. Let no devil run your house. If it's your house, you run your house. You run it. And every demonic spirit that comes in here that don't want to heed to the voice of your rules or your house, then you get rid of it. And I'm not being cruel. I'm not being, sometimes you have to do what you got to do. Because if you don't, they're going to drive you up the wall. And if you want to keep your sanity and you want to keep walking with God, you got some things you got to let go. You got to let go and let God. Because if you don't, then the glory going to depart from you. Because you're going to start acting just like that spirit that's trying to control you. That's why when you recognize a demon, when you recognize a spirit, cast it out or get it some help. See, the moment you recognize it's a devil, don't play with the devil. You can't play with the devil. He's smarter than you. He's smarter than you. God have to help you and help your thoughts in your mind. Satan been with God from the beginning. So he know about the scripture. He knows the scripture better than you. And he's smarter than you. So you can't outsmart him. He's smarter than you. God have to go in and give you the smarts to outsmart the devil. Because he's smarter than you. He been with God. You haven't. He was up there with him. So he know everything about it. He know his whole word, all of that. So I say to you, my brothers and sisters, stay in the divine will of God, because you don't want the glory to depart from you, from your church, from your dwellings. You don't want his presence to go, because if his presence go, you gone. Because you ain't gonna have nothing to stand on. If God leave you, you messed up. And so my prayer is, God, don't take your glory from me. I ain't even trying I'm not trying to be out of his will. I'm not trying to do my own thing. I'm trying to stay in the will of God, because I don't want no reprobate mind. I see too many people who walk outside the will of God and get a reprobate mind, and most of them go crazy. The majority of them that I've seen lose their mind. They start losing their mind, start going crazy, because they stepped out of the divine will of God. And then there's no more help for them. They're going to have to the spirit going to either have to be cast out, or they're going to deal with medicine for the rest of their life. And that's a punishment. That's a punishment. You don't want to be in a reprobate state. You don't want to be in a delusional state. You don't want to lose your mind. That's why you want to stay with God and stay humble. Stay humble. See, I talk with authority, but I'm an humble woman, because I can take a whole lot of stuff. I done took. But don't fool yourself now. I'm walking with him, because a lot of stuff I used to do, I ain't doing. I'm walking with him. Not saying I'm not pumping myself up or trying to make myself look better than anybody else, because I ain't better than nobody. I'm just saying what I used to do, I ain't doing. And I'm trying to do the right thing. But I recognize a demon when I see it. I know it's a demon. And I call it as it is, a demon. It's a demon, period. So you don't want the glory of the Lord to depart from you. Stay in the divine will of God. But I like that 11 verse. It says, so that the priests could not continue ministering because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled the house of the Lord. See, when God's glory is in the house, when God's glory fills the house, there can be no turmoil. See, the reason why there's turmoil, because his glory has departed. His glory has departed. And in this case, it's departed from the individual. That's why he sowed those seeds. And those seeds try to drop where they can. But when you feel God's power and his glory is still up in your life, those seeds can't manifest. They can't, when I say manifest in you, they can't manifest in your circle. They can't manifest in who God is in you. They can come around, they can taunt, but that's about it. That's about it. So you want to stay in the will of God, and you want the glory to remain faithful in the church. You want the glory to remain there, because the power of God, it can change anything. The power of God, the glory of God brings miracles, point blank. If the glory of God is not there, ain't no miracle gonna happen. But if the glory is there, and it fills that temple, you best believe some miracles going to break forth. Everywhere Jesus went, his miracles followed behind him. So if miracles, signs, and wonders is not following behind that ministry, then you might want to wake up and see if the glory is there. Because if the glory is there, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So I say that if I were you, I would stay with the Lord. But the voice has got a new name, and the name is Hunt the Sound of His Voice. Hunt the voice. Hunt the sound of His voice. And we're looking for the sound of His voice. And we do have a talent show coming up in December, and I want you to be prepared for it. And we have the tickets and everything. So if you need tickets, I've given you my contact, tammyadams880@gmail.com, and you can contact me there. So y'all have a blessed day, and this is The Voice. Have a wonderful, blessed day.